Hello, everyone. It is currently a new year, and with the new year, I spent the first week setting up my 2026 journals. But before I fully commit to them, I thought it would be nice to do a little flip through of my 2025 journals. So these bad boys are the three journals I used last year. I think 2025 was the first year where I can very proudly say that I journaled consistently, because prior to last year, I was the type of person who would buy a new Hobonichi cousin at the beginning of each year and then use it for around 4 months before I forget about it. And then December rolls around and I decide to buy a completely new Hobonichi cousin without touching the old one. And so the cycle repeats, but I really wanted to break that cycle in 2025, so I spent a lot of time trying to find a journal system that works for me, and I think I've achieved that. I thought I would take the opportunity to share what I've been doing with my journals, how I've been using them, and what I'm bringing into my 2026 journals from them. One last note, a big part of me making this video is because I wanted to introduce these journal brands to other people who like journaling. I use a very well-known brand, but then I also discovered a lesser-known brand that I fell in love with, and I thought it would be nice to share what it's all about. So maybe if you have an itch to try something new, maybe this is the brand for you. Okay, that's all. Let's head over to my desk and we will do my overhead flip through. Okay, so when I use the term journaling, I use it as a all-encompassing term that also includes scheduling and planning. So that is why I had 3 notebooks for 2025. First off, we have my traveler's notebook. This one is my writing journal. This is the daily journal that I use, the one where I wrote down all my everyday thoughts and happenings. I did have a sketch insert and also a junk journal insert in this as well, but I think moving forward into 2026, I do want to separate these and have this journal just be for writing. Yeah, and then second, we have my commonplace journal. This is actually just an empty grid journal, and admittedly, I stopped using this journal quite early on in the year, but I still really enjoyed the commonplace system that I set up for myself, so I will do a flip through and a talk of this one as well. And then last but not least, we have my monthly journal. This is a monthly diary from the brand Analog Keeper, and they also made the notebook that I was using for commonplacing. So they are a Korean stationery brand. The only unfortunate thing is that they don't ship internationally, so I had to use a proxy to get these journals. But I found out about them through Instagram, and I saw their spread for their monthly journal specifically, and I was like, this is perfect. This is everything I've wanted ever. Prior to this, I was using the Hobonichi monthly section at the beginning of the cousin, but I really didn't like the daily pages because I mainly wanted to schedule anyways. I have never been someone who digitally scheduled or planned. So I don't use Google Calendar when I have an event or anything that I need to keep track of. I would always do it analog, which has, caused a few problems in the past where I would be out with friends and they'll ask, hey, are you free for this next Saturday? And then I'm like, sorry, I need to go home and check my journal. But I've always done my scheduling analog, and I don't think I want to change it. So this is a diary I got for that purpose. I think there are a lot of things about this journal that made me want to try it out. So first of all, this is a journal that comes with a PVC cover that you can purchase. All of their notebooks and journals have a PVC cover, and they all have this zip that is on the front cover. And I really like this because I'm someone who likes to decor their journals, but not that much. I used to be a lot more into it a few years ago, but I've kind of gotten over it, but I still want to personalize my journals and make them mine. So this was perfect for me. Because instead of having to commit to putting stickers onto the journal itself, I can instead put stickers and paper goods and whatnot into this zip and have it visually be my cover. And I think that's very, very cool. And I like the customizability of it. I have a little keychain I've attached of Ikari Shinji. This is a vintage cupie baby keychain of Shinji. And I think he looks very ugly and also very, very cute. One thing I really like is this is a horizontal journal. And also the spine of the analog keeper journals are exposed like this. So they lay flat, and that is a big thing for me because for my monthly journals, I like to keep them on my desk. And it is best when they can lay flat. So for example, like this, and it looks very clean. Though usually I do actually prop up my journal. So I would get an object and kind of place it like this and have it next to my PC. And I think it's just a very nice way of adding a little touch to your desk. It's a bit of desk decor, you know. And it also just allows me to immediately view my schedule. And I really like that about these journals. Okay, let's do a flip through from the start. So the first page here, we have the year, and then we have the Analog Keeper slogan. So their slogan is "Keep my own way." I think it's a very cute saying. And then here I've written my artist handle. By the way, they do make this journal in an undated format, so if you wanted to write your own dates in, you can, but every year they also make them for the year, and I always use the dated versions. Okay, and flipping through, the first spread is this monthly sort of overview. I use this to log my events, so when I had an artist market or anything, I would write them down, and then I would also circle the event on the calendar so I could visualize it that way. And then we have this daily sort of tracker, I guess. You could use this for tracking, but every time a journal has this sort of spread where you can see all the dates, I always use it to write in my friends' and my loved ones' birthdays. So here, as you can see, I have written my friends' names on their corresponding date. And I think it's a cute way for me to remember their birthdays. And since I use this diary on my desk every day, if I'm ever like, oh, it's my friend's birthday soon, let me check the date, I can just check it easily. Yeah, and I have color-coded one of my friend groups with green. So that's why they're colored in. Okay, and then here we have my spread for December last year. Sorry, December 2024. Yes. So the Analog Keeper monthly spread, one thing I really like about it is that it's not a grid calendar, and instead it is exposed. I didn't realize how much I needed this until I realized I needed it. I really like that without the grid, it's a bit more freeing and it's a bit less strenuous on your eyes when you look at it, for me personally. It also allows you to do a lot of fun deco things that won't have a grid line throughout it, so I can use bigger stickers like this. At the top here, the monthly spreads have this dated index that you can use. I know a lot of people use this for habit tracking, but because I've never been that much of a habit tracker, I use it to categorize the dates I have written. So like your digital phone calendar app, I have categorized events according to different colors. So for example, all my dance events were blue. So I have colored in the date in blue and also logged up here. And I think it's just nice to have like this sort of timeline you can look at, even if it doesn't really serve a purpose. I'm someone who likes to do deco, but I don't want to spend a lot of time doing it. And I think it's just a very nice way to easily like add some color to your spread. So yeah, I use different pens for different categories as well. So like I said, dance is blue. I've written all my dance stuff in blue. And then I've used black to indicate outings with friends, and green in terms of the date, and up here as well. And I have these little page index flags that I just, if I have a note or anything, I would use them to write them in. Yeah. Okay. With my pen color coding, I do change it up throughout the months. For example, back then, I didn't have a job. So when I do get employed later in 2025, I swap the pens I'm using for the category, if that makes sense. Okay, here is my January spread. So this one's a very blue themed one. I also tried a new thing where I use these sentence page flags. So they look like this. I use them to be a stand-in for these dots I did. Also, these dots are done with colored pencil. But as a bit of a different touch, I was like, let's try highlighting it with one of these stickers. So that's what I did on this spread. I'm not someone who is very strict with my rules when it comes to journaling. So if I feel like I want to change something up, I will. It's a lot more freeing that way and a lot less stressful. So that's just how I like to decorate and organize my journals. Okay, and then moving on, we have my February spread. Next, in March 2025, I got a new job. So I swapped to using black to indicate my work days. And then I started using blue for everything else. Also, I drew and designed these stickers here, and you can view them on my Instagram if you're interested. I'm very fond of these. This was a ocean-themed sticker sheet I designed for a market called Mellow Art Market, and they had a ocean-themed art market in Sydney, I think the month after. This one is April, very green themed. By the way, with these stickers in my journals, if I can remember the artist that made them, I will do a little list here. But I don't remember every artist for every sticker I own, so please excuse that, I'll do my best. When I have to lay out my days like this, I actually sometimes don't decorate it until way later, but this format of journal allows me to just slap in stickers whenever, even if it's not during that month, and it'll still look nice. So that's what I've done for all of these spreads. I don't actually decorate it when I have to write these dates in. I just go back and do it later. Next, a very Heisei retro themed spread here. I really enjoy how this indexing looks up here with the different colored dots. I've also seen some people use this top section to draw a line to indicate timelines. So if you ever have a long running project or whatnot, you can kind of use it that way as well. The month of June, a very cyber themed one. And then, July. I had a lot of markets this month. So a lot of these stickers are from artists that I purchased from. August, a bit more of a edgy theme. Also, you can see up here, I tried doing stars instead of dots for the index. And I think it turned out pretty cute, so I might do that more in 2026. September, very uncommon for me to use pink, but I think this page turned out really nice, and I really enjoy these stickers. October, my birth month. November, another blue theme. If you can't tell, blue is my favorite color. By the way, I used a paper clip when it was that month to kind of like pinch the pages together so that they'll stay together better. So I would put it like this and then prop it up on my desk like that. And it just stays very neat. It's very cute. Like a little bookmark. Okay, and here we have the last spread. This is December. I actually think they have a January, but I didn't use it. Okay, and then actually after the monthly spreads for this journal, you have a bunch of blank pages. And I also like these blank pages because they have this sort of margin that's already printed on them that says date and like a area where you can write your focus for if you're writing or if you're drawing, or even if you're commonplacing, you can use this to put your dot sticker maybe. I actually stopped using this section when I got my travelers in the middle of the year. I found it a bit overwhelming to try and fill out this page, so I wanted something a little bit smaller, but I do really like how these spreads look. And that's it. The PVC cover also has a pocket, so I've put some stuff in here. These are actually freebies from Analog Keeper. Every time you order from them, they give you an envelope of freebies, which is really neat. And I've used a lot of their freebies before. Yeah, that's the monthly diary. That is my planner. Let's prop it up over here while I show off my other journals. So cute. Okay, next. Let's talk about my commonplace book. This is a B6 sized Analog Keeper notebook. This is grid, blank grid. This grid format, however, has a little margin section that says date and also type. So it seems like this sort of book was made for commonplacing. So you would put your dot sticker here, or maybe you could put a number system where 1 equals writing, 2 equals film, TV, you know. Here on the front we have a Rizzo print postcard from one of my favorite visual artists. And then opening this book, we have, this is actually a Hobonichi pencil board, but I still use it. It's great. And we have a few stickers. I have my indexing system here over on the right. This is what I was using for 2025. It took me a very long time to settle on this. The reason why is because I am not a big fan of dot stickers. So I really did not want to use dot stickers, and I did everything in my power to find something else that would work. This worked really well for me for a good 2 months of the year, and then I stopped using my commonplace journal, but I'll tell you why. These are the line index flags I was talking about. So I used it instead of dot stickers for commonplacing. Okay, so the way I used this book was I numbered every page as I used it, 1 throughout, however many I got up to, which I think was around 50, so not a bad effort. I numbered them, and then I would write down the corresponding item in this index here. Yes, this is the first spread here. In 2025, at the beginning of the year, I was reading a lot of books. I read every day, so because of that, I thought it would be fun to do a book log where I write down the page I get up to for the corresponding book. So I did a little highlighter key here, and I would highlight the date and write down what page I got up to. I really liked this. So if you read a lot, maybe this is something fun you can do. But as I got busier, I stopped reading. So that was the main issue with this commonplace book. I tried to set it up around this system, and I could not keep up with it because I could not keep up with reading so consistently. And then I would have my commonplacing. So over here is how I commonplaced. I wrote down the title of the item. I was reading a book called The Archive Undying, so that's where I wrote it. I wrote the author name, or if it was like a film, I would write the director here. For the quotes I was writing, or if I had thoughts on a certain page, I would write the page down here. So every time before I journaled, I would rule a margin and then erase it. I just really like how I formatted these pages. I think it looks very good, but I think it was very tedious to use after a while. If you're wondering how I used my color coding here, I actually cut a square. That's how much I dislike dots. I purposely found something I could turn into a square. So I would cut little squares and put them on the side margin to indicate the item I was talking about. Yep. And then I write the date on the side as well, and then the page number under type. I used this green-gray sort of color to indicate books, and then I also use this beige color to indicate thoughts. So according to this book, these were my thoughts on it. That's the system I kind of set up. Then green to indicate games. I was writing down rules from a board game that none of my friends and I could work out. So I wrote it down to understand how the board game worked. I think this dark grey was to indicate personal stuff. So this was from an art exhibition I visited with a friend. At the beginning of the year, I was learning a lot about D&D. So these spreads are on D&D from the handbook. So a few more pages on books, and as you can see, I did the book and then my thoughts sort of indexing again. The system was one I really enjoyed using, like so much that I would open this up every day of January and February just so I could write in it. So I'm gonna try to bring that same energy into my 2026 journals, even if I can't keep up a very big book like this anymore. I have these little semi-transparent post-it notes that I was using when I ran out of space, or if I wanted to write extra stuff that I wasn't too certain on. And I think it's just a nice way to color block as well. So I highly recommend getting these nice transparent sticky notes. I also switched between using a black pen and a gray pen, but the gray pen was always to write down things that wasn't as important. So kind of like afterthoughts or maybe examples if I was writing down a fact. Yeah. A lot of D&D. I think as someone who is quite creative and I really love stories, commonplacing is a very powerful tool for me because I like referring back to media I've consumed and how they've inspired me. Okay, so that entire chunk was January. Oh my goodness, I actually didn't realize it was just January, but that's how much I was into this book back then. And then you can see here, it kind of falls apart in February because I read a book that I did not really enjoy. So I just stopped reading, unfortunately. But yeah, so a very sad ending to this journal, but I really did enjoy my time with it. And I will still be commonplacing in 2026, just not in a separate journal like this most likely. Also had a mini section where I would write down vocabulary. Yeah, that is my 2025 commonplace book. Okay, lastly, let's talk about my traveler's notebook. Prior to 2025, I actually was not a fan of travelers, mainly because I was not really into that old-timey aesthetic that they promote with their brand. Since then, I've warmed up to it a lot, though the brown color scheme that is throughout their entire insert line kind of bothers me, but I'm trying to work my way around that. Okay, I got this after I got influenced from one of my friends because I saw her traveler's notebook and I thought the insert system was so innovative and fun, and I think it would help me journal more. So that's the reason why I got it. My journal decor, I have a badge here. I have no idea why it's upside down right now, but I have a badge here that I threaded through the string, and I have a little charm that actually came off one of my belts, and I was like, okay, I'll keep this and use it for my journal. On the spine, I have kind of a deep cut. I have another keychain, another character keychain. This is Leon from Kingdom Hearts, also known as Squall from Final Fantasy. He is my favorite Final Fantasy character. I can talk about it another day. Okay, let's look through my journal. So I have 3 inserts, a junk insert, a sketchbook, and my writing journal. I actually inserted one of the album like mini zines photo books that I got from an album from my favorite artist. So this is Natori's Absolute Zero photo book, and I thought it was just a nice way to add a little bit of personality through my travelers, and it's very thin as well. And it's just nice that I can just look at the very cool art whenever I want to. Yeah, so I have that threaded through my inserts. And then this is my junk journal. This insert is actually made by an artist that I found at an artist market. I think their at is Mark's Mellow. I'll put it on screen somewhere. But they make these really nice inserts that have different papers throughout. with different textures as well. So you can see there's like a vellum paper, recycled paper, stuff like that. And I got the ocean themed one. And this is just a very cool insert that I've never seen anywhere else. So I picked it up at the artist market that we were both boothing at. I use this mainly to put in any paper goods I was gifted through friends and through other artist mutuals, and also any letters I received. So this is kind of like storage for all the smaller goods that I got throughout the year. Also a few art prints. I went to a K-pop concert and this was the freebie I drew for that concert that I was handing out. There's a few more things that my mutuals drew, also from the concert, and a letter I got on my birthday, and a letter from a dear friend. So that's how I use this junk journal. I didn't finish this off, but I'll probably still use it throughout 2026. Next up, we have my sketchbook insert. So I started this quite late into the year, maybe September or October. So I use this mainly for any urban sketching or I guess plein air sketching. And yeah, I don't have much to say, but I'll do a flip through. I was mainly testing out the paper for this sketch insert from Travelers because I wanted to use it on my trip that I'm taking soon when I do live drawings. So that's the reason why I got this insert. I tried some gouache medium. These are all done with fountain pen ink. A gouache painting that was a screenshot from a YouTube video. Except the washi tape here would not come off without ripping the page, so I just left it in. A few more drawings. Oh, this one's my favorite page. I was waiting for a friend after work so that we could get dinner together, and I just drew the surrounding light rail station. I think it looks very, very cool. Okay, and this is where I spent all of my time between August to December. This is my daily writing journal. I can't show a lot of this off because it's all quite personal. I use this basically only for writing. Every now and then I would do a few drawings in grey ink. And that's what I did for the entire rest of this journal. I actually filled it up very nicely throughout the 4 months I was using it. I used this insert every day or every 2 days. I was very dedicated to writing in this. And I think it just was because the Traveler's insert is so thin that I was never pressured to finish up a whole page. So for example here, I was writing for the previous day and then I couldn't finish this page, but I was like, you know what, I'll just leave it and I'll write the next day after in this little space that was remaining. And I just think this size is perfect for me. And I'm very glad I gave Travelers a chance, even though I had such an opinion of them before. That's my Travelers. I'm also, like I said, not a fan of the brown covers, so I kind of used that opportunity to find different ways to deco, to cover the brown a little bit. And that was also the reason why I put the scene initially. It was to cover the brown of this page. Okay, and that is all for my 2025 journals. That was how I was using my journals last year. And now I can finally set up my journals for 2026. I actually started using my Travelers inserts already, but we can officially put them into my leather cover that I will be reusing, of course. I also repurchased the monthly diary for 2026, the 2026 version, yes. This year I'll only be using my Travelers and my monthly journal, but I will be trying the commonplace in my Travelers as well. We have time skipped a few days. I was actually waiting for an insert to arrive for my Travelers notebook, but it has come and I have set it up. Starting off with my monthly diary, there are not that many changes in this one, mainly because the format of this book itself has not changed from the 2025 version, so I am using it the exact same way. This is the front decor that I've done, and we'll just do a quick flip through. I have inputted birthdays again for this year. And here is my January spread so far. This journal currently looks very bare bones, but I'll be fleshing it out throughout the next months, and I'm excited to see how it looks by the end of the year. A very quick flip through for this guy this time. But now we can go through my traveler's notebook, which is a little bit more hefty. I haven't changed any of the decor. I got this notebook in August last year, so it's still quite new to me. So I'm keeping everything as is. But I do have some new inserts. Currently, there are 2 inserts in this book. Okay, so at the front we have the zine, the photo book that I've kept from last year. These are my 2 inserts for this year. I have here a plain insert, the general plain insert that always comes with the traveler's notebook. And I also have a grid insert. This grid insert, however, isn't the standard traveler's grid insert. I actually ordered in this very special grid insert that was a Traveler's X Baumkuchen collab. And this one actually has Tomoe River paper in it. So it's very familiar for any of the Hobonichi users here. It is a little bit more yellow than I would like for my personal taste, because I use the pure white blank insert, but I'm getting used to it and I like the paper itself. And also this grid insert comes with more pages than the regular grid insert, so I'm currently really enjoying it. I also just really like that the cover of it is grey. I think it suits my aesthetic a lot more, so that is one thing I'm very fond of. This layout might look familiar. I am using it the same way as my previous commonplace book. This is my 2026 commonplace book as of now. So here we have the index that I did like in my previous book, and I've been using it the exact same way. The only difference is I decided not to color code anything, but I think my system is easy enough to color code if I want to go back and do it later. So with color coding topics, I'm actually using these colored index flags to mark my favorite quotes or my favorite pieces of writing if I want to refer back to them. Because I think with categorizing, I can easily do it through the index already. So I don't necessarily need to know what sections are for books or for movies. I'm gonna see how it goes without the color coding, and I'll just be using these index flags to mark anything that's really important to me or anything that resonates. I'm still doing the page number in the margin and also the date in the margin. One big difference is I've actually stopped using a full page for one topic. So I'm gonna try just writing a different topic right under it and not worrying about having to finish a page. And next we will go to my journal daily writing insert. I actually put this blank insert into the clear folder. This is the 008 Travelers folder. The front of it doesn't have a slit for you to slide a cover in, but the back does. So that's exactly what I did. And to keep it together, I just used a paper clip at the top here, and it's worked out okay for me. And this clear folder I think really looks like the type of covers I would get with the analog keeper. So it's a way of me making my 2 journals a little bit more cohesive. And then we have one of the analog keeper freebies. And here at the front page, I have a quote from one of my favorite books. I did a reflection page at the beginning of 2026, thinking back on 2025, and this is kind of my year wrapped, like, you know, Spotify wrapped, but it's the whole year for everything within my life. So I did events, I did notable happenings, I did the media I consumed. And I just wrote a bit about how I felt regarding 2025. And I talked a bit about my goals for 2026. And then I started using this journal the way I've used my previous traveler's writing journal. I just do my daily writings here, and sometimes I do a little drawing if it's relevant. I also did a 26 things I will not buy in 2026 writing prompts because I really want to budget better this year and I want to really work on my savings this year. So that is my travelers, and that has been my journal ecosystem. I hope 2026 has treated you guys well so far. I really want to make it my goal this year to upload frequently onto YouTube. It's something I really enjoyed when I was active, but I haven't been doing it. So I really want to get back into it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.